Good evening, everyone. A few comments here if this is your first time meeting with us. You'll notice that you're muted and unable to mute yourself. After each presentation, the co-chairs may call on members of the public who wish to speak. You can do that. You can ask to be recognized, by going to the virtual. Sorry, you can do that by going to the reactions button at the bottom of your screen and selecting raise hand. It's important not to raise your physical hands or wave at the screen because we may not be able to see you among the participants. If you are on a phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 and *6 to unmute. Once you're recognized by a co-chair, I will unmute you and you may be prompted to confirm unmuting on your device. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you can access the raise hand feature by clicking the participants button on the menu at the bottom of your screen and selecting raise hand. The chat function is available for technical support only, not to ask questions of the co-chairs, and you can send me a chat if you're having any trouble, and I can walk you through any issues you may be having. Also, just another note, for the Landmarks Committee meeting, we typically go in the order of public, members of the public, committee members, non-committee members, and then public members. Okay, Jane.
Thank you so much, Saida. Good evening, everyone. This is the September meeting of the Landmarks Committee of Community Board 8. We have 6 applications before us tonight. We are here to vote on the context and appropriateness of each application. As Saida said, we'll hear from the applicant, then the public, then we go into executive session and hear from the committee and formulate a resolution, which will be voted on by the full board at its monthly meeting this coming Wednesday. With that, we're going to get started. And by the way, just so we all know, David Halpern still is incapacitated in terms of handwriting with his right hand. So Anthony Cohen is going to be acting co-chair tonight, but David is here to comment on each of the applications. So with that, we will start with number 1, 3 East 78th Street, Metropolitan Museum Historic District. Scott Konieco, is that correct? Is he here? I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly.
Scott, if you're here, you can raise your virtual hand.
Do you see his hand at all?
I do not see his hand. I know he was having some technical issues.
Well, why don't we then, we'll go to Anthony Kahn, number 2. Is that okay, Anthony?
Oh, sure.
And
okay.
then we'll go back to number 1.
Right. Okay, we have number 2 is 630 Park Avenue, which is in the Upper East Side Historic District. And we have Jakob Weinstein to hopefully make a presentation. Is he or someone here?
Okay, I think actually Levon.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah,
Jakob?
Levon Shaginian.
Okay, here you go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Yakov is trying to join us. I'm not sure if he'll be able to. He's having some difficulties, but that's okay. I just wanted to know, do I share the presentation, Saida?
Yes, you do. You share your screen. You should have the capability.
Okay, okay. Sorry, first time.
No problem.
Let me pull it up. Okay, let's go. Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yes.
can see it.
Okay, so what we're here to present today is a proposed rear yard first floor extension of the unit of the resident manager that they live. Currently, and I'll get into it, but currently it's a very small unit where the resident manager lives with his family. They had babies, and the building board would like to give them an extra couple of rooms to fit everybody in because it is such a small space. This is the front of the building. It's a corner lot on Park Avenue and East 66th Street. This is the 1919 Sanborn historic map. You'll see the red outline kind of where the general area of the building is. And this is more zoomed in. This is the block, and the red dot there shows the corner of which the building is in. We couldn't get a good photo from the roof, so I just did a satellite image from Google. The red dots here outline the proposed area of where this first floor extension would be. The only potential site from the street is there's a gate right around here. I'm not sure if you could see my mouse moving around, but I have a photo later down. There's a gate here which blocks off an alleyway. So if those gates are ever open, you may see, a few inches peering out off of this corner. When the gates are closed, there's nothing visible. Around
excuse me, Levon. And that gate's on 66th Street, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The neighboring properties, we could not get access into them to photograph. However, you'll see in the photos later, there's high fences, which pretty much block the view of this proposed extension. Okay, and that's the gate I was referring to before. You could see it's partially open. I have a zoomed in view. Okay, so this is the gates fully open. The yellow line represents the edge of the extension. So it's really maybe 12 inches or so off of this facade that you would see. We are proposing to build it in the same style of material as the building yards, which is like a yellow tan brick facade. And the fences that I talked about before are here and here. So if you're standing in the yard, you probably can't see much of that, of the extension. Okay, so this is where the resident manager currently lives. So we are going to extend this portion, and there'll be columns down. You'll see that clearly in the rendering a few slides further. Again, this is the fence, and this is the line of, this is basically the outline footprint of that extension. So this is the rendering of more or less what it would look like. You have 3 columns encased in brickwork. Again, we're going to strive to match the bricks to the historic as much as possible. We'll have a metal gutter to match the existing leader that's here, and edging on the roof. And the standard size windows, aluminum windows with precast concrete window sills, again, to match the historic building appearance. This is the presentation. Would you like to see the drawings?
Yes, I think. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. All right, let me pull that up. Won't go through the whole set unless you'd like to see.
Please don't. No. I think what we might be interested in would be, even though it's not strictly speaking germane to what we're doing, the sort of plan to understand why you're doing this all together.
Yeah. Okay. Let me get that up for you. Okay, are you seeing floor plans right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So let me see if I could do this. Okay, so this is currently the living. Let me see if I could have a marking here somehow. No, it's not working.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, so essentially, if you look at this door, this is the main entrance to the living quarters of the resident manager and his family. So they have a moderate-sized living room, 1 bathroom, a very small kitchen, and a bedroom where it's them 2, and they have a newborn baby right now. I think they just have 1 child. Maybe they have 2 kids. I'm not even sure. So what we're proposing to do is actually extend the footprint and give them 2 rooms in this direction. This is our yard. And so this is the proposed new layout. So this is the old kind of where the building finished on the first floor, and we're proposing to extend it about 9 feet 2 inches out into the yard this way. And that will gain them a bathroom and a kitchen, which in turn leaves space for an extra bedroom within the remaining area. And that's basically what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give them another bedroom for their baby.
Great. Well, and just one more question. What is the height of this addition?
Okay, so if you look here,
Yeah, whatever that dimension is on the left.
okay, so the floor is going to start 7'9" off the courtyard slab, and it's going to add, the roof is at 10 feet. So you're looking at, almost 18 feet off the courtyard slab to the top of the roof, just shy of 18 feet. And that's
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Since we have such a big agenda, are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this application? I don't see any hands.
I don't either.
Okay. So let's go maybe alphabetically, starting with Elizabeth.
Yes, I think this is supportable. I think it is nearly invisible, which is a great trait, and I think it is perfectly in character with the building, so I have no problem with it. It's innocuous.
Gail? Gail, confirm unmuting. There you go. We should be able to hear you now. But we cannot hear you. Okay, Gail, we'll come back to you. Alita?
I agree with Elizabeth and I could support this. Thank you.
Skipped Michelle.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. Confirm
Yeah, that's
unmuting.
okay. Just a couple of questions. You're going 9 feet deep, 18 feet high from the floor, the sidewalk. What's the width of this?
Levon?
Okay, sorry, I was just muted. Okay, so okay, let me zoom in so everybody could see. It's going 10 feet out. It's about 18, a little shy of 18 feet high, and the width is 25 feet. It matches the width of that setback of the building.
Okay, and does it need additional mechanicals? How are you providing heat and air?
Yeah, it needs additional mechanicals. It's going to have a mini split system, which will be in this yard here, which currently already has similar units in place.
So you mean it's not adjoining the unit, it's across the courtyard?
It will be mounted either on, there's a retaining wall here, and it will most likely be mounted here where we have other units currently. I don't know if it's showing up in my,
So then you have to run the piping and everything across the yard.
Yeah, that's how the piping is run now to the building. So we would just be matching what's pretty much there now.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you have a picture of that backyard? You had one before. Do you have can you go back to it?
That side, I don't think I don't have a photo on me. I apologize for that. I can.
All right, I don't want to take too much time. I just wondered if that will make it, is that going to be visible? Is that in line with the gate?
Oh, no, so if you could see my mouse cursor, do you see my
Yes, I
mouse?
can, I can.
Yes.
So the gate is on this side here,
Right.
and the units would be over here.
Oh, so there's nothing there.
No, there's not, it's not gonna be visible. There's nothing
And
there.
noise, you do noise mitigation?
The noise just has to be in compliance with the EPA standards for it. So our mechanical engineers are taking care of that. But it's a standard, it's a small unit. It's not gonna make much noise. And again, we have units already there, so it's not gonna.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, let's try Gail again. Gail, confirm unmuting. Okay. Sarah?
Thanks, Aida. I don't have any further questions. I just wanted to say that I think it's really nice when buildings take good care of the people who support them. And so I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Marco?
Yeah, thank you. I have two questions. The first one is, in the extension, you propose a window, which is gonna face the lot line of the existing building. Is that correct? And you have a distance, if I'm correct, 9 feet, something like that?
Yes.
Okay, so Sony resolution 23, let me see, let me give you exactly the Sony resolution is 2371. The minimum distance between wall to window is 20 feet.
Right. So we went through this with Department of Buildings. They gave us approval on the grounds that the rooms that we're proposing to be in the extension, which is a bathroom and a kitchen, do not require to have windows. So they allowed us to put windows there. Originally, we had bedrooms. Bedrooms are required to have windows. And they said, because, and it's a little like, I don't know how they, you know, so they basically said, if you're putting bedrooms, you can't put bedrooms in the extension because they require windows. So then those windows would not meet the zoning resolution. So they said, if you want windows, then you have to put rooms there that actually don't require them. So that is why we then switched our plan from having bedrooms there to a bathroom and a kitchen. We actually have the zoning approved, and this was one of the main issues with this extension, but we did get the zoning approved through DOB.
Well, because the split unit is just only produce conditioned space. It doesn't produce ventilation, and you must require to have a ventilation.
I'm sorry, what's your question?
The question is, it's true that you don't provide ventilation with the split unit, because the split unit is the only thing does is condition the space. You have a conditioned space,
Yes.
but you don't have ventilation. And
Right.
this is where you need the windows. And that space is required to have a window. If you have a kitchen, and the kitchen, if you call to have a mechanical ventilation, the rule is a kitchenette, that is the size that you are proposing, I guess, is 59 square feet, no more than that. If it's bigger than that, you have to provide windows. Well,
we are going to have vents. I show here, like in the bathroom, there's a new 50 CFM vent. In the kitchen, I don't remember what the guys put, our mechanical engineers put, but essentially we went through this with DOB. They did approve this in their zoning. They initially rejected it because we had the bedrooms, because of the windows. But
I think
they did approve this, yeah.
I think, Marco, the point is that since the kitchen is also mechanically vented directly to the out of doors, it does not need the window for ventilation, and as a consequence does not need, neither the kitchen nor the bathroom require windows for light, provided they have ventilation. And I think
You're absolutely
the bill,
right.
but Marco, the building department's already approved it. So I think the point is moot. I actually think it's perfectly all right. But anyway, I'm speaking literally out of turn.
Well, the
Okay.
only thing I'm going to say is before you establish the mechanical ventilation for the kitchen, it cannot be more bigger than 59 square feet. If you have to have a bigger than that, you must provide ventilation, regular ventilation, no mechanical ventilation. That is their code. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Marco.
Gail, I think we can hear you now.
Good. I support the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jane?
I support the application. Thank you, Saida.
Anthony?
I support the application. I think we're now looking for a resolution, probably, I would say, in favor. Anyone want to propose one?
I'll propose a resolution to approve as presented.
Thank you, David.
I would also like to make a comment that we're talking about appropriateness. We're not talking about the building code and the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. A second. I see Alita's hand is up. So I think we can go to a vote.
Okay, 1 second while I get it up here. And everyone, I will be unmuting you. Elizabeth?
Yes,
Gail?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes,
Alita?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
David?
Yes,
Jane?
Yes,
Marco?
Hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay. The
thank you,
resolution
Saida.
passes. Mhm.
We're going to go back to 3 East 78th Street.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Levon.
Scott Kanaiko, is the architect, is the applicant here, Saida?
I don't think he's here. He emailed me to let me know that he was stuck on the train. So I think we can keep going until I see him.
Okay, very good. So we'll move along to number 3, which is 800 Park Avenue. Panorama Windows, is that applicant here?
Yes, that applicant is here.
Okay,
Okay, I confirmed unmuting. Elliot,
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Yes, we
you
can.
might want to do a screen share too.
I will. I'm actually, unfortunately, using 2 computers. So you're going to see my head turned one way and looking at something else. So bear with me 1 second. All right. So this is actually a presentation for a proposed master plan. In going back and forth with landmarks, there were 3 areas that we were differing from what was historic, or I'm sorry, 4 areas. And so that's what we'll be going through today. So let's get this started. This is a little long. There are 24 slides, so I'm going to kind of jump through this on the quicker end. So please feel free to stop me if you have any questions or if you need me to go through anything.
Why don't you just do your presentation and then we'll hear from the committee members. Thanks.
Perfect. All right, so this is 800 Park Avenue. It's located on the Upper East Side Historic District, built in 1925 by Electus D. Lichtfield and Pliny Rogers. As you can see here, we have the existing building as it stands right now. And this is the historic photo from the 1940s tax photo. Moving on. So here is the existing Park Avenue facade elevation. This is the proposed Park Avenue facade elevation. So as you can see, we're basically matching all of the double hung windows in kind. And the same thing for the existing south facade on 74th Street. And here's the proposed south facade on 74th Street. And now we get into the three different areas, or the first three areas that we're going to talk about. The first is the second floor. Then we're going to talk about the third floor windows. And then we're going to talk about the 15th floor windows. And finally, we're going to wrap it up by talking about the rear courtyard facade. So the second floor windows historically were, or appear to have been, a pair of outswinging casement windows with a fixed top transom. And you can see here from the 1940s tax photo with some zoomed in shots. The existing windows on the second floor are a mix of tilt turn windows or casement windows and double hung windows. So here on the Park Avenue facade, you can see full light units that are either tilt turns or casement windows, and double hung windows with 6/6 grid pattern, which match the windows in the lines above. And then the same thing here on the 74th Street facade, all single light units. We are proposing a combination of 8/8 double hung windows and 6/6 double hung windows. You can see the 6/6 are currently existing on the northernmost portion of the Park Avenue facade. The 8/8 double hung window will actually be, I believe it's either one or two of the center units because they are wider openings. And then the rest of the windows will be 6/6. So that is the first change. Again, to wrap that up, the historic windows were a pair of casements with a fixed top transom with divided lights, 1 wide, 4 high per operable sash, and 2 wide, 1 high in the top transom. Existing windows are a combination of full light operable casements or tilt turn units and double hung units that are 6/6, and I omitted 8/8. The proposed windows are a combination of double hung units in both 6/6 and 8/8 combinations, obviously width depending. The proposed windows differ from historic, and we are doing this in order to keep the aesthetic consistent throughout the building. And this is also similar to other limestone based buildings in the district. So to kind of jump in a little bit to look at similar buildings in the district, I've highlighted 4 buildings: 860 Park Avenue, 770 Park Avenue, 784 Park Avenue, and 778 Park Avenue. Unfortunately, because these photos are so old, I can't really zoom in much more than you can already see. But you can tell that these are all limestone based buildings. And in each one of the second floor, there are all double hung windows. So we believe that the precedent or that we don't have to, or we shouldn't have to use a casement window to match the district. So now moving on to the second portion. This is going to be the third floor, and the existing or the historic double hung windows on the third floor actually feature a wider center muntin. We believe that this is to mimic the casement window meeting styles that were directly below. The pictures again are very blurry and it's difficult to get a close-up shot, but on this bottom picture here, you can clearly tell that there is the offset of the top and bottom sash, and you can see the wider center muntin. You can also see it in this location as well. When looking at the Park Avenue facade, it is evident that this is not a double window, but actually a wider center muntin. Because if it were a double window, you would have a much larger sight line because you have two back-to-back weight pockets. So now we move on to the existing windows. And so throughout the entire floor, all of the windows have been changed, and they are all double hung windows without a wider center unit. And they are in both a combination of 8/8 and 6/6. And again, this is all width depending. So the proposed windows on the third floor is to match exactly what is there currently. Again, to keep uniformity throughout the building. So in summation, the historic windows were double hung units in both 4/4 and 8/8 configurations with dependent with a wider vertical center muntin. The existing windows are double hung units in both 6/6 and 8/8 configurations, again, with dependent. The proposed windows are a combination of double hung units in both 6/6 and 8/8 with dependent. The proposed windows differ from historic in order to keep the aesthetic consistent throughout the building, similar to other limestone-based buildings in the district. Now we move on to the 15th floor. And in the 15th floor, there is a combination of units that were used in that were present in the 1940s tax photo. The first is this double hung, this unequal sash double hung unit, which you can see in these two openings on the Park Avenue facade, and these three openings on the 74th Street facade. The others, which we presume are replacement units, are casement windows with a fixed top transom. Currently, the existing windows on the 15th floor throughout the entire floor are single light casement windows with a fixed top transom. And we would be proposing the uneven double hung window with a variation 6 round top to match the masonry opening. And this would be in the same grid pattern as the windows were historically.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat the language you used for the top of the window?
A variation 6 round top. It's basically a rectangular window that is it has trim on the upper sash itself to actually give it the appearance of a rounded window.
I see. So in effect, you're just keeping the what it looks like now.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, what it historically looked like, because what it looks like now is a fixed top transom, but it will actually be operable.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So the historic windows are presumed to have been double hung units with a simulated round top to mirror the limestone facade and uneven sash in a 6/4 configuration. It is presumed that several windows were replaced to be single casement windows in a 2 wide, 4 high grid configuration with a fixed top transom containing no divided lights. Existing windows are full light casement units with fixed top transoms. Proposed windows are double hung units with a simulated round top to mirror the limestone facade and uneven sash in a 6/4 configuration. The proposed windows match the historic windows, which will maintain the building's aesthetic. So now we move on to the last portion of the master plan that is in question. And this is in this line of windows in the back where only, I believe, the top 4 floors are visible. There are tripartite casement windows, which we believe are the historic windows. We are looking to, here are some additional photos kind of breaking down all the different floors. On the top, which is barely visible, you can see that they have single light tilt turn windows. Then on the floor below, they actually have one of the historic windows. Below that, there is a replacement window. And then this is where it gets interesting, is there are 3 apartments throughout the building which replace the glass to use a leaded glass. We believe that that is not historic, but that was done after the fact. And that's because there are 3 different leaded glass patterns that we see throughout the building. And I'll show you in a couple photos a little bit later. But again, they were the original windows. They were the original casement windows. Just the glass was changed. And on the floor below, we have, again, the original casement windows. Below that, it goes into replacements. And then, we start to be able to see on this image, 3 double hung windows. This is another leaded glass configuration. All right. We are proposing, I'll get to that in the next slide. You can see some interior photos of the 15th, 10th, and 6th floor. Here are some shots of the ground floor, which are historic. And this is the proposed tripartite casement window that we would like to have set forth in the master plan. So, in summation, the historic windows are presumed to have been tripartite French casement units in a 2 wide, 4 high grid configuration. The historic windows are still present on the 2nd and 9th floors, as well as the ground floor. Windows on the 5th, 6th, and 10th floor are historic windows that have had their glazing changed to utilize leaded glazing. All 3 of the leaded glass windows have different patterns. The existing windows are a combination of historic tripartite French outswing casement units in varying glazing configurations, as well as double hung units and full light tilt turn units. The proposed windows are tripartite French outswing casement units in a 2 wide, 4 high grid configuration. Photos of the ground floor, the lobby, clearly show the historic window, albeit shorter in height, which is a tripartite French casement window. And so that concludes this portion of the master plan. These are all the items that differ from or that landmarks will require a public hearing for.
Thank you. Is that your presentation?
Yes.
Well, it's incredibly complete. We'll go to the, is there anyone from the public present, Saida?
Any members of the public who wish to speak, you can raise your virtual hand. I don't see any hands, Jane.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll go to the committee then, and we'll go in the reverse order.
Okay, Marco?
Thank you, Jane. I think the front elevation, I think, makes a little bit complicated, but the problem is we don't have actually a good picture to match what is existing, what it was historical. But your proposal makes a lot of sense in the way that you presented to us. On the 3rd floor, I found it that, again, you're matching with the existing 8/8 and 6/6. And on the 15th floor, I found that your proposal is still a very nice proposal, which basically lead me just only to the inner core windows. Usually I never comment because it's inside, not visible, but I don't know if the graphics are correct, but you showed beautiful work on iron cast inside of the window. You maintain that ones or not?
Are you the I think you're talking about the ground floor.
Yeah, those.
So
replace
if
that
you
one or maintain that one?
No, so we are actually if you look, all this work on the inside is set inside of the window, so it's completely separate. No, we're not touching that.
Oh, good.
We would be replacing all of the window on the outside.
Oh, I see. That's very good idea. I think I like that part. I think that's it. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Okay, David?
If I understand correctly, inside the courtyard, you're doing the casements, which are apparently very similar to the historic windows. That's fine. And on the 15th floor, again, you're doing something that's very similar to the historic windows, which again is fine. On the second floor, I think that what goes into a lot of these buildings, despite precedents of the same, is what I'll call theme and variations. And sometimes a little bit of variation goes a long ways. And since you're going to the trouble to match the 15th floor, I don't see why you couldn't go to the trouble to match the second floor and to match the third floor. The second floor, I feel very strongly about. The third floor, I think, is also well worth repeating in your master plan. So right now, since I cannot support the second and third floors, I would not support the master plan.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sarah?
David.
Sarah, confirm unmuting.
Hi. I'm struggling with how much one would vary the window plan from what was previously there, and so I'm looking forward to hearing how others feel, but I take David's comments pretty seriously, so thank you.
Alita?
Thank you. Well, first, I'd like to say it's very exciting that there is a master plan for windows. It's one of the big issues at this committee are the failure of buildings to provide master plans. But having said that, I agree with Sarah and take David's concerns very seriously. So I think I would tend to agree with David right now that if you're going to do it, you should do it right. But I am glad that you're going to do it. Thank you.
Michelle?
So this building is a combination originally of casement windows and regular divided light windows. That
Correct.
was the combination. Were any of them wood?
The windows in the back in the courtyard and the windows on the front are wood windows, or were wood windows.
So are you replacing them with wood windows?
We're proposing an aluminum product.
Oh,
Well, I'm not happy about that. Thank you.
Gail?
I have a question. You had one of the photos with the tax map. Was that 1940? Do you have anything that shows what the windows all look like in 1925 when the building was constructed?
Unfortunately, we were not able to find any earlier photos, and this was working actually with Landmarks directly. This was the earliest we were able to find photos from.
Because I do wonder whether, and I take also David's input very seriously, whether there was quite as much variety as we're seeing right now, particularly with some of the casements. I happen to live in an Electus Litchfield building, and no matter what the size of the windows were and all, they're all 8/8s. throughout the entire building. That doesn't mean that he was necessarily consistent in all of his designs or monuments or other historic buildings that he's responsible for. But I do like the idea, if you're going to do it, just have as much continuity on each floor as possible. So that would be my major concern. Thank you.
Okay, and Elizabeth.
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that I admire what you've done here, the texture and character that you are bringing to this building. I very much in support of almost all of what you've done. I would feel happy supporting this with provided that I think it was the second and third floor, replicate the original windows. But I think that we've seen so many horrors of windows that I'm delighted to see what you've done here, and I don't want to be negative about what is, in my opinion, a 99% good proposal, with a few things that it would make it better, namely what was suggested by other people. But thank you very much for what you've done here.
Thank you.
Anthony?
Hi, it's a wonderful effort. I'm afraid, however, that I really have to agree with David that there is a certain subtlety to the arrangement of the original arrangement of the windows, and even though the photos are blurry, blown up from the tax photos, the ways in which the original windows on the second and third floor differed from the windows in the body of the building was clearly intentional, and I think it's I would consider it an important feature to retain. So I can't actually support this as presented.
Jane?
Well, first of all, I do want to commend the presenter, because the master plan does seem to get rid of the tilt and turn windows that were installed at later dates, which break up the elegance of the front and the two prominent elevations. But I have to agree with my fellow committee people that in general, we really have to respect the original intent of the architect. And I think that point that Anthony made, that it was the way the windows were originally designed was intentional and lends to the texture of the front elevation and the side elevation. So, and also I'm a little disturbed by aluminum windows. But in any case, that being said, I cannot support the application as presented. So I think we're ready for a resolution, aren't we? Does anybody want to present a resolution?
Michelle?
Yeah, I would like to move to disapprove, with a couple of the whereases being the reference to the windows on the second and third floor, and also to the aluminum versus wood.
Okay, I will go ahead. Oh, do we have a second? Elizabeth?
I do have one question, whether the aluminum is going to simulate the wood windows, so that in terms of the curvature and things like that of the wood windows from a distance, we wouldn't know the difference.
No, you wouldn't be able to tell.
We would be able to tell. Okay.
No, you would not be able to tell.
So actually, you're actually replicating the shaping of the wood windows in the aluminum.
exactly. And we are doing a custom extruded panning shape to match the historic brick mold.
Well, I think everything you've done is commendable. I only wish the second and third floors were for the original. In any event, I would like to amend Michelle's resolution to exclude the exception for the aluminum, because I think in deference to the building, the aluminum will last a lot longer than the wood. And if it's going to replicate the shape of the wood, then I don't see any reason why do we have to insist on the wood.
Well, I think, David, if we just make this a disapproval based on the fact that the second and third floors do not match the historic windows,
Yes.
we'd be okay.
That's fine with me, Jane.
Okay, so that's Michelle, is that okay with you?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move to a vote.
Thank you.
Could I please say something before?
Sure,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead, Elizabeth.
Yes, I think we should make that if we disapprove, we should be specific that we admire most of what was done. I think if we turn down something of this quality, and I don't disagree with the bits that we don't approve of, and should leave out, but I think if we just plain disagree, then why? I think we will discourage this sort of thing in the future. And we've had too many people with single pane tilt and turn windows that never should have been invented. It was so horrible and inappropriate. But I don't want this to be a very negative, disparaging resolution. Just plain turn it down. I think we want to recognize that we admire the vast majority of this proposal and the fact that they've gone for such a proposal.
Elizabeth, I think since I will be writing the resolution, I will try to make it as positive as possible while still making it a disapproval. I do, as I mentioned before, we have to commend the applicant for getting rid of all the tilt and turn windows and for, in general, being in favor of double hung 8/8s or 6/6s. So would that be agreeable to you, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay, I think we can go to a vote, Saida.
So we have a raised hand from a member of the public. Would you like to proceed with the vote or go to?
I think we can proceed with the vote because we asked if any members of the public were here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
You forgot me.
I did. I'm sorry, Alita.
It's okay. Yes.
Go ahead. Okay.
Thank you.
Anthony?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And Marco?
Yes.
Okay.
I just do want to make that comment that of course we appreciate the fact that the applicant cares so much about this building and wants to make it as beautiful as possible. So I will certainly try to give accolades, many accolades to the applicant.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So now we're moving on to number 4, which is Anthony's.
Yes. Okay, number 4 is 1088 Park Avenue, which is, and we have Mary Burnham of MBB Architects, I hope.
She's here. But I think Zach is
Hi there.
going
Can you hear
to-
me?
I can.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you all. I'm here with my colleague, Zach Poole, who will be sharing the screen for us. And I'm hoping he'll be given permission to do that.
He should
And
be able to.
okay, thank you, Saida. And Daniel Aladef and Joe Kaplan is also here, who is heading up the client team at 1088 Park Avenue. So actually, if we could share the screen and I'll just start the presentation right away. I'll just be introducing the presentation and Zach will walk you through the granular detail. Our application is for a modification of the front doors at 1088 Park Avenue, which is between 88th and 89th Street on the west side of Park Avenue. And it is a beautiful building, again, 1925, building designed by Mott Schmidt in a Renaissance revival style, which is a very sort of restrained classical style. And the front doors that are original to the building have a revolving door and then two side doors that are, while beautiful, rather not very user-friendly nor very safe. And so we are proposing to, what I hope you will agree, to make a very sort of appropriate modification to make those comply with life safety codes, egress and ADA compliance, which is sort of to sort of improve the building. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Zach, who will walk you through the actual design components.
Thanks, Mary. So what the slide you're looking at now is a collection of awnings, entrances along Park Avenue, stretching from 88th up to 90th Street. And we include this to sort of show that the awning is really the perceived point of entry. And in fact, some of the existing doors are either, whether they're recessed or on the face of the building, sort of become secondary in the sort of the overall architectural language of the block. Here is an image of 1088 Park Avenue. You know, on 89th Street is on your right hand and your 88th on the left. As you can see, the front door is recessed about 15 feet back from the face of the building. So in essence, it's completely in shadow and sometimes completely invisible depending where you are in the street. In this image, on the upper portion image is what the door looks like currently from the sidewalk, as well as close up. As Mary mentioned, there are a swing door on either side of an existing revolving door with a fixed transom of steel, divided light steel window above. On the lower portion of the page is what we're proposing, a view from the street, as well as a rendering from inside the entry vestibule. The proposed design is to replace the existing two narrow doors. They're in sometimes not able to accommodate a stretcher to a pair of 2 to 3 foot wide, so 6 foot wide center opening door. And the idea is that this door would be in a pronounced, we'll call it a porthole that would be portal set off about 18 inches or so from the face of the glazing to sort of replicate the massing of the existing revolving door, but still allow a lot of transparency through, which the existing did not allow. On the pans of the sides of the door, which were once the doors will be fixed glazing, divided lights. The divided light window would come all the way down to the ground, replicating the language of the windows on the interior courtyard. The cornice, the existing cornice, would be remain as much as possible. Now, where it'd be modified over the new set of doors would be new cornice with the profile matching the existing. The finish for all of these, the finish would be a painted metal finish that would match, or steel finish that matched the existing transom above. And the new doors, double doors, would be a bronze clad finishing that would be that would reflect the finish of the existing doors. And I'll go into further details as we get further in the presentation. This is a plan of the existing condition. Now, as you see, there's a revolving door in the center with two two small narrow swinging doors on either side. The doors in a clear dimension around 2'8" wide, pretty narrow. On the top, you see an image looking from the sidewalk back of the building. You can see it's about 15 feet recessed from the sidewalk, and really only get a clear view of this entry if you're under the awning in front of the building. The existing doors are either in bad shape, they're delaminating, falling apart. All the hinges are undersized, and as a result, the doors are sagging. The revolving door is hard to use. It's in desperate need of repair, but the main problem is that the size of it. It's too small for a person to easily use. Now, this is our proposed modification of the doors. As I mentioned before, we're creating this sort of frame or portal around the existing door to further emphasize the point of entry, and then having these fixed sidelights either side recessed from that entry. The doors are set in a specific spot to coordinate with the curved layout of the existing stone floor that once wrapped around the revolving door. And the point of that is really so that all the new aspects of design are harmonious with the existing fabric of the building, whether that be tying into the existing fixed transom above or the existing stone paving below. And on the interior side, where, if you can see my mouse here, where the revolving door once was, we're proposing to infill this with stone to match the existing, but keep a curved joint line as a further nod to that the revolving doors were once there. This is a close-up view of the frame. This is the door here, and this is the fixed sidelight here. I'm showing this view to show how we are replicating in detail sort of recessed panel, as you can see here on the existing doors, to give the frame a little bit more detail and once again tie it back to what it once was. Here's a view in a large elevation of the existing doors with a photograph on the right. And then here's the proposed elevation with a rendering on the right. One thing I want to add is we're planning to salvage the existing push plates off the revolving door and reuse two of them for the push plates on the new door. These doors would swing inwards, allowing easier access for the doorman as people come in and out of the building. Here's a large elevation of, on the left hand is the existing swing door, and then its replacement with an existing fixed side light with a surface mounted muntin, so it's a simulated dividing light. The pattern of it would be in similar proportion to the existing transom above. I do want to mention too that we're raising the base of the window up about 12 inches off the ground to give it a sense of mass. And once again, sort of a nod back to what was existing, but still cognizant of trying to create as much transparency into the building, one for proof security reasons, so that the front desk or the doorman can have easy visual access to the exterior. This is a enlarged elevation of the revolving door on the left, and then the proposed new swing door in the middle. And this door would be clad in bronze instead of painted metal, one to tie back to the existing, but also to further emphasize point of entry. On the interior side, the frame of the door would be set away from the glass, similar to what you're seeing in the exterior, but only about 6 inches to emphasize that frame, but not to protrude on the interior anymore with a new security desk. And this is a detailed section of this proposed new door. You can see here we're proposing a new clad cornice that would match the existing profile. The interior, we'd be adding recessed downlights for security purposes as people coming out during nighttime. The door itself would be a painted steel door with, once again, with simulated divided lights with surface muntins on them. And that is the end of the presentation. there any questions?
Right, I think we'll start if there are any members of the public who would like to comment.
We do have
Okay.
one raised hand.
Two.
Oh, two hands. V. Perla. Hello? Okay, V. Perla. You're unmuted. Okay, we can't hear you. So if you'd still like to speak, we can circle back. Lo?
Yes, my name is Lo Vanderholt. I'm representing Carnegie Hill Neighbors. This is clearly a very fine piece of work, and much of it is to be applauded. I have some questions and then a comment. The first question is, in referring to safety, does it mean that the safety of physical harm to someone going through the revolving doors, or does it mean safety in terms of better sight views for the doorman? You can answer that later, and I'll go on to my second question. Is there a second set of windows, of these semicircular windows matching at the other end of the interior vestibule? And so that I can get that answer later as well. And then the comment is that the semicircular glazing at the upper end is now divided basically into 8 portions, although in the interior it is 5, though unequal portions radiating from a center, whereas the original was 5 equal radiations from the center in the interior semicircle, and 10 in the exterior semicircle. 10 is an interesting number. It's related to the Pentagon, of course, and I would have, we if you're going to preserve the original, it would be nice to preserve the 10 radiations rather than reduce them to 8. And that's the comment I have. Thank you, and I look forward to the answers.
Thank you.
So
I can respond backwards. Maybe that's
Okay.
easiest.
Great.
The image we're looking at now, the existing transom above has the arcs that that is existing or proposed to remain. Now the scope of that work would just be scraping and repainting because the paint is the existing paint is flaking. The glazing will remain as is. So I'm not sure the comment, because as of now we're not changing anything.
No, may I interrupt? If you
Sure.
if you look at the transom, the semicircular transom, they are not exact. The new one is divided into 8 or 4, but although the interior is 5, but they're unequal. Whereas the original the interior was 5 equal arcs, and the exterior was 10 instead of 8. Please compare. I think it's on page 4 that you will see the page 3. Page 3, you can see the comparison. And they're not the same.
I'm sorry, and that is our mistake in just terms of drafting. The idea though is that those existing.
Sorry, that's a
Yeah.
rendering mistake.
That existing portion of the window would remain as is.
Good.
So we're not proposing
Oh.
to alter that at all.
So sorry.
Well, thank you very much for that.
And I want to address the question about the revolving door. The revolving door, it's not a safety issue of operating the door. It's more of a comfort issue. It's a very narrow door where walking through, even with a bag in hand, it's very difficult to operate. The safety issue.
Yeah.
the safety issue really is having the after hours, having visual connection between the security desk and the inside to the sidewalk and the outside. And that is by making this a little bit more transparent, or improving that connection.
Yes.
I would
yes.
also add, though,
Thank
that
you.
there is a life safety component that, for example, there was recently a tenant in the building that had to be taken out of the building on a stretcher, and the paramedics couldn't get them through the door. So in other words, the width of these current doors are unable to accommodate a just standard gurney that is now used by paramedics. So this is a life safety issue. It isn't, it is sort of visual, the visibility, other things that Zach mentioned are also true, but it is a life safety issue.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. So V Perla has written their questions, so I'm going to go ahead and read them. If they're going to replace lower doors, why not replicate original architect's intention? And also, was the revolving door setup original to the building?
We have done extensive research, even through the Avery archives, to find any sort of documentation on this building, and it's limited to a lot of exterior photographs and very few historic drawings and photographs of what this might have been. We're assuming that this revolving door is original, but just with the pure geometry of everything, we're unable to keep the existing revolving door and still have a door that's wide enough, as Mary mentioned, to accommodate a gurney.
I would also say that in designing these new doors, we looked at whether they should have no divided lights, because the existing doors do not. And it didn't feel like it was in keeping with the rest of the architecture. So we felt that putting divided lights in these door panels was a sort of truer interpretation of the architectural sort of context of these doors. So that was sort of a design process.
And the divided lights now reflect the historic door and window out to the courtyard, which you can barely see through this rendering, but that is a true divided light window from floor up to the ceiling in an arch pattern. So now both sides of the entry lobby now relate better to each other.
Okay, thank you. We also have questions from Joe Kaplan, who was having trouble raising his hand. So Joe, confirm unmuting on your device.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am a member of the board and the chair of the Lobby Restoration Committee at 1088 Park Avenue. We are supportive of this design, which we mandated consistent with the original design intent of Mott Schmidt. We indeed commissioned a historic documentation report by Building Conservation Associates to research that history and to make sure that design was consistent with that. And to address one of the questions in terms of the consistency of the proposed entrance, where the top of it will be unchanged and will replicate exactly the entry into our garden courtyard, which is that door that you can see behind. And so it will really have that consistency of procession into the building. And then just to address from the safety standpoint and the daily use of tenants, whether they be tenants with young families, whether they be elderly residents in wheelchairs, whether it be a medical emergency and the ability to have egress and exit the building, that the narrow revolving door and the resulting narrowness of the side doors were not accommodating of those uses. And so we sought to strike the balance of being respectful and consistent to the original design intent of Mott Schmidt, while meeting the current needs of the building and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Saida, we can move on to the committee.
We can. Are we going in alphabetical order this time?
What did we do last time?
I think
Yes.
we went reverse. Okay. Elizabeth?
I think that this is if the the objective is to remove the doors, the swing doors, revolving doors, I think that this is an excellent, respectful application, and I will support this. Normally, I want everything absolutely back to the original, but I certainly understand the need for safety here, and I think that this is the best possible solution, so I will support it.
Okay.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Gail?
Guess we get, yeah.
I certainly know this building. I have gone through those doors, and I think this is a very good solution. So I too can support it. Thank you.
Alita? I'm sorry, Michelle. I keep doing that. I'm sorry, Michelle.
No, that's all right. Thank you. There's just something, I appreciate the access issues, but there's something so charming about the existing entry doors and the revolving doors. So I just have one question, because I'm mindful that you need to have a gurney has to come through, a wheelchair has to come through, etc. But am I right in seeing that those revolving doors are divided into 4 compartments?
Yes, that's correct.
And if so, wouldn't you solve the issue if you made them just 2 compartments, as many revolving doors these days are? And as a matter of fact, if they were 2 compartments, one side can usually snap back so that it actually becomes a regularly functioning, accessible doorway. Have you considered that?
I think we've looked at just about every possible way to keep these revolving doors as, in some form, because they are really intriguing. But unfortunately, it's the width of them that makes them really hard to deal with. In other words, even if you split it in half, you still can't get a wheelchair through there. And the side doors are too narrow too. So it's just the width doesn't work because of the curvature. It takes away enough of that width that it just doesn't work. So I think we feel your pain. And then in other words, I think we really tried to come up with a way to make them work, but it just, it's just math. It just doesn't work. So,
Is
anyway.
the cornice above the door in the proposed? I can't see the detail.
Yeah.
Is that the same?
Yes. So the cornice above the new doors would replicate the exact profile of the existing.
Okay, and so the side doors are set back in the proposed?
The fixed glazing on the sides would be set back in the same plane as where the existing swing doors are now.
Okay.
Where the new double doors would be set forward about 19 inches or so.
Okay.
To further pronounce that entry, and,
For the depth,
and also
because it looks very
Yeah.
flat in the picture, and it's and at least the other is a little more true to the entry. And I understand that you're doing glazing almost to the floor to reflect the inner doors that go to your courtyard. But have you considered keeping, I don't know if that's 18 or 20 or 24 inches of a foot plate on those side fixed panels as they are in the original?
We kept them at 12 inches. We thought that was sort of a good in between. Is that
How much is it in the original?
24 inches? And the existing doors we felt kind of heavy and chunky, and that bringing it down to 12 inches allows for safety. You know, a shovel is not going to hit the glazing, but at the same time it allows for as much transparency as possible and make it feel a little lighter.
Okay, I'm still thinking, your comments, I mean, it's absolutely legitimate rationale for everything that you're doing. It's just that when I look at it, it lacks the charm of the existing. And so I was just thinking, and we're not here to design, but I was just thinking of what elements could be changed that would at least give it the feel and the charm of the original. And I think that maybe increasing that footplate might be one of the things that you could do. And in light of all the glazing that's there and where the eyes are of the doorman, I don't think that would interfere with the transparency and safety issue from the interior. Because if you look at the man as he's seated in the existing entry door and you can see his vision through there, you can see that his head and eyes are way above what that 24-inch footplate would hit. So, I mean, I'm not going to vote against it because of that, but I would ask you to consider that. It's just some of the charm that I think, like even the brass crossbars that exist in the revolving, if you could somehow, rather than the brass push plates,
the push plates are actually phenomenal. It's engraved and it says push and it has the date. So it'd be a great thing to add as a historic element to these doors.
Oh, so there's printing on there?
Yeah,
Can't see it. Yeah. All right, those are my comments and questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Alita?
Michelle.
Thank you. I agree with Michelle. Well, the charm of the revolving door goes without saying, but I understand that you can't do that. And certainly the life safety issues for the residents and any visitors are paramount. I know that this is not part of our thinking, but were people in wheelchairs now using the service entrance? Is that how they were getting out of to the building?
I think they barely use those doors now. The existing door now squeezing through, scraping the sides of the door as they go through.
Well, that's obviously a big issue. I agree with Michelle also on the height of the floor plate. I think that would give it a feeling that you're not quite in Florida, which is a little bit what it feels like to me, maybe because of the huge transparency. And then last, I think I'd much rather like to see true divided lights rather than simulated. I think the simulated no matter where you are, and it's a beautiful, beautiful building. It would be a shame to have that one detail make it look like it wasn't. We know that it wasn't original. I know that you're working hard to make it look original, but I think having divided lights would go a lot further in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Alita. I think we have Sarah next.
Sarah stepped away.
Oh, okay.
David?
Can you just explain how you're doing the divided lights, since that issue came up?
Sure. It's simulated in the sense that it's a singular sheet of glass, but within the glass, there's a spacer bar so that looking from an angle, you're not looking through glass. On the face of the glass would be applied muntins. So it's simulated since it's a singular sheet of glass and not multiple pieces of glass, but you're not seeing it from an angle. You wouldn't be able to see through it and understand that it's simulated.
So it is a double pane of glass, though.
Right,
So
exactly.
it is not historic in that sense. We are putting in a thermally glazed door, which is also sort of the responsible environmental way to do it. And every single window that you see now that is a thermal window that has divided lights is done in this way, almost without exception, because otherwise you'd have these tiny little packages of thermal glass and each one of them could fail. So anyway, I would just say that this is a very common way of doing this, and it will look you know, as good as any other divided light window looks in the world right now, because that's how they're made.
And I trust that you will be shaping the mullions themselves so that they
Yeah.
are beautifully done.
Yes.
Yes.
Appropriate.
Yes.
And on balance, I think it's a very well done design. And I think once you make the break from the revolving door, then you have to resolve the design within itself. And you can't necessarily keep pieces that don't really work with the design. Certainly in replicating the cornice, you found a way to maintain the character of that particular element, even though it's going to be new and it's going to be different because the proportions work out differently. But I think what you've done is extremely appropriate. I think it works well within itself. This is one of those rare buildings that has a wonderful garden, the ability to see through as you're walking along Park Avenue. I think it's an invitation to the passerby to enjoy the building a little bit. It might be that the residents of the building may not be happy if people stop by and look through, but to me, it's an invitation to look through, and I think it's the right thing to do. So on balance, I think it's a very thoughtful design. I think that the transparency from Park Avenue through the garden is important for the residents and, quite frankly, for the passersby. So I compliment you on a well done job, and certainly has my support.
Thank you.
Marco?
Well, the proposal, it looks fine. I think it's very attractive. It makes a lot of sense. The only thing I'm going to comment is about the double glass, which basically usually we don't comment in saving energy because you don't save anything at all. One single pane or two or three is fractions. So basically you don't do much in that direction. But the design is good, the safety is good, and I think I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco.
Jane?
Thank you. Can you hear me, Saida?
Yes.
I cannot support the application. I normally always agree with David Halpern. He's so wise in how he approaches these applications, but I cannot support that entryway that has applied buttons. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony?
I think this is fine. I think it's actually a very sensitive and appropriate response. And I think, and I certainly can support it. So I think we can, if we need a resolution, probably in favor.
Okay, Marco?
Yeah, I would like to put a motion as presented. Thank you. To approve.
Seconded by, okay, seconded by Gail?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we can go to a vote.
1 second while I unmute everyone. Okay. Elizabeth?
Yes, and then could you mute me because the dog walker's coming and you don't want my dog's opinion.
Okay. Gail?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jane?
No.
Marco?
Yes, thank you.
So we have 8 in favor and 1 no.
Thank you, Saida. Did anybody show up yet for 378th Street?
He emailed me and said that he was having technical issues and would come back to us next month.
Okay, thank you. So then, let's see. We're down to number 4
Five?
or
No,
5.
number 5.
Okay, so I'll take number 5 then, and you can take number 6. Is that okay, Anthony?
That's fine.
Okay, so we're stick to rotating. So that's 714 Madison Avenue, Upper East Side Historic District, Rand Engineering. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Margaret.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So do you want to begin your presentation?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Margaret Kim. I am a senior architect at Rand Engineering and Architecture, and I'm pleased to propose our limited facade alteration at 714 Madison Avenue. And I will share my screen. So just a quick background of my client. My client is Buccellati. Buccellati is a world-renowned luxury jewelry house in business since 1919 from Milan, Italy. They create unique and important jewelry and silver items. Buccellati opened its first store in New York in 1952. And in May of 2015, Buccellati opened their flagship boutique in their current location on Madison Avenue. So 714 is a 5-story commercial building constructed in 1871. And this building is an Italian neo-Greco style building designed by Gage Inslee. So the first sheet I have is on the left, the 1940 tax lot photo. And on the right is the elevation of the building as it is today. And then this is just the Sanborn map and historic district. So the work we're proposing consists of the following: installation of exterior lighting at the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor, and new uplighting at the cornice. We're proposing that the light fixtures would not be visible from the street. The second item is replacing the existing brass pin-mounted letterings at the marquee. And the third is installation of new awnings at the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors, similar to properties and retails along the Madison Avenue retail corridor. And the fourth scope of work is the removing the damaged glass panels and the bottom trim at the existing storefront. And we're going to replace it with new glass to match the existing insulated glass specification, and the bottom trim to match the existing surrounding storefront trim. And then we have the existing section on the right and the proposed building section on the left. And then we have an enlarged section of where we'd like to locate the exterior fixtures. One area is at the windowsill on the 4th and 5th floor. And at the 5th floor window lintel, we're proposing a linear light fixture, the width of the window, and it would be mounted on top of the lintel to allow illumination of the beautiful cornice. And we have some additional lighting behind the 3rd floor terrace, but that would be hidden behind the removable topiaries. And then this is the detail of the brass letterings that we're proposing to replace on the current marquee. There will be one facing the front, parallel with Madison Avenue, and then the side lettering on the sides of the marquee. We have conducted some preliminary light fixture mock-ups. We are we did some preliminary ones. We had to change one of the linear fixtures to a smaller fixture. And that fixture should be arriving from Italy this week. And we're hoping to do this mock-up this Friday and be able to present the photos as part of the Landmarks presentation. And then the light fixture that we're mounting at the windowsill is this fixture called the Trick, and that just sits at the windowsill. Let me see here. And I have a photo of what that fixture looks like on the sheet. And then here we have some precedent photos of some existing lighting along Madison Avenue. This one that we're showing is at 828-850 Madison Avenue. And then we also have, sorry, let me backtrack. In this current proposal, we're also requesting halo lit backlighting for the signage. And we were asked to show examples of halo lit lighting along Madison Avenue. So these are some of the precedence photos. And then we were also asked to show window awnings with logos and branding for the retail space. And in this elevation, we show the branding only at the second and third floor. And we just have solid navy blue awnings at the fourth and fifth floor. And then lastly, some examples of precedent photos of illuminated signage, just to show the various types of lighting, retail lighting and signage that you can find on Madison Avenue. So that is my presentation.
Thank you, Margaret. As a side note, I actually have on a pair of Buccellati earrings. So that's an amusing footnote, isn't it? In any case, are there any members of the public here who want to comment on the application?
I don't see any raised hands.
Okay, in that case, we'll go to the committee and we can now go in the reverse order.
Okay. Marco?
Thank you, Jane. Okay, you present some precedents in the neighborhood. Can we see something in your project? Because you present in 2 dimensions, and you don't present actually showing the lights how it's gonna look like in the entire building.
I'm sorry, well, we have the lighting shown in elevation. There's a light at every window. And is your question about how the lighting will look?
Yes, because you present some scenarios, some precedents in the neighborhood, which is could clarify, but we don't know your proposal.
Correct. We just show examples of where people have illuminated the windows, but we didn't actually do a simulation of the lights.
Because also in the lettering on the second floor, you propose also a backlighting. So we would like to see, I would like to see this kind of the details, how you are presented to us.
The details of the halo lit backlighting, the LEDs would be mounted inside of the brass lettering. And then there's a frosted film, or I'm sorry, frosted acrylic that would diffuse the light. And then this back line here is the back panel of the marquee.
Okay, thank you.
David?
Basically, you're replicating the storefront. Is that correct, Margaret?
Yes.
I think your drawing was pretty clear as to what you're doing. I don't have any problem with the backward side. I think you showed us enough in lighting that what you're doing is similar to some of what you're showing us. What you're showing is fairly routine on a lot of buildings. So I don't have a problem with it. Technically, it should be able to be adjusted to look right. I'm glad you held the Bucciolati to only 6, because I think it might have gotten to be too much on the awnings. I guess I'm okay with it. I think it improves, let's say, from a marketing point of view.
We've lost you, David.
I'm saying I think it improves, let's say, from a marketing point of view. As an architectural issue, I don't think it necessarily makes a big difference one way or the other. And I think that everything that's being done is primarily to enhance the marketing. And in some sense, maybe it's enhancing the architecture a little bit, other than the cornice. There's nothing exceptional about the building. So I think lighting it and putting on the awnings with the names, backlighting the Bucciolati sign, and uplighting the cornice, I think it makes it more festive. And I think as a marketing issue for Bucciolati, I think it's okay. So I will support it.
Thank you.
Sarah? We can't hear you, Sarah, if you're speaking. Okay, we will come back to you. Alita?
Thank you. Well, I like the idea of lighting up the cornice, and I assume that the LED lights, which can be very cold and harsh, will be warm toned in keeping with a nice historic atmosphere. It looks like you're shrinking, and I'm sorry if I missed it, the size of the Bucciolati name over the storefront.
The one facing Madison Avenue.
Yes. Just looking at it here.
Yes. I believe, according to the existing drawings, the existing letters are 8 inches, and the replaced letters we'd like it to be a little larger, 8 5/8 inches.
Oh, I had the 2 drawings reversed.
Okay.
Well, and then you said you're putting them on the side of the marquee as well.
Yes. Yes.
How far out is the marquee extending? And so I guess they'll be laid out horizontally.
It's an existing marquee, which was approved by Landmarks, and it's existing. The current letters, for some reason I don't have the dimensions, but we are slightly enlarging them. Let me see if I have them noted. See here, the letters are 5 1/4 inches.
I love to walk down Madison Avenue and go window shopping, and I have no trouble seeing that that's the Bucciolati store from across the street. It's not a big storefront, and the amount of nameage, that's not a word, I know, but you know what I mean, on this is really kind of mind-boggling to me, because you have larger letters over the front, letters on the side of the marquee, and then 6 awnings that also give the name of the store. And I really don't think you need that. I think it detracts from the building. It certainly does not seem consistent with the elegant brand that Bucciolati is. I love looking in those windows and really appreciate the quality of the silverwork, but it just seems to be inconsistent with the historic sense of Madison Avenue. And I really can't approve it with all of that signage with the name everywhere. It just really seems, given the size of the facade, too much to me. And I like that store very much and want to support it, but this is just a bit excessive. Thank you.
Sarah, we're going to try you again. Okay, still not hearing. Oh, okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, great, thank you. I agree with Alita about the signage. I think that I like everything else about the design. It really is the overhangs, the 6 overhangs with Bucciolati that I think is excessive. And we had a similar application for a Madison Avenue business. I forgot which one it was, where every one of the overhangs also had the proprietor's name on it. And I believe we did not approve that application. But for me, that it really is that signage that where I agree with Alita that it seems excessive, but I like everything else about this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Yes, thank you. Just for the record, I couldn't hear anything that Sarah said, but if everybody else did, okay. So I'm sorry about that. I too have a problem with the signage. I love the awnings, but not all the naming. Are they fixed awnings or retractable?
They're fixed awnings.
And how far out do they protrude?
$15 inches.
Okay, so I like the awnings. I can't see that you need any naming on any others above the first floor above the street. So I'm not happy about that. In terms of the sign, now you talked about a front canopy. How is that a canopy? I mean, it's flat. It's a flattened picture. Where the signage is, how far out is that canopy? How deep is it?
It's I believe it's around 3 feet. It's not deep, but it's an existing canopy. We're not proposing a new canopy. We're just proposing to update the current signage.
Okay, I couldn't tell the depth of it on that flat picture, so I didn't realize it was there. But if you go back to that picture, I think you had said that this store is here since the 1950s. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, I believe they were on 5th Avenue. That was their original location.
Okay, but and the signage was the same since the 50s? The size?
Oh no, this the current store is on Madison. I mean, the previous shop was on 5th Avenue. And then, yes, in terms of the size of the sign, the lettering, yes, the client would like to make them bigger. So right now,
I understand. But my question is, was the sign, the size of the lettering that's there now, was that the same size as the lettering that was on 5th Avenue?
How the hell should she know?
Okay,
don't
I'm
know.
only asking
Yeah.
because when a store has such a history and is
Mhm.
easily recognizable, and you're
Mhm.
going to have signage on the above awnings and all that, and if this was the size of the original signage, I wouldn't see the point of enlarging it. But moving on to the lighting, when you say that you're lighting the cornice, are you putting the lights on the lintels that are above the windows on the last floor or on the sills?
I have a detailed drawing here. We're proposing to mount the linear
there.
fixtures, yes, up on
Okay.
the top there.
Okay,
But it's
I want-
they're approximately 2.5 inches wide and 2 inches tall, and we're going to set them back, and they won't be visible from the street and across the street. I
Okay,
mean, we
the re-
will mock it up, but we're going to confirm that.
Will it be mocked up before it goes to landmarks?
Correct. Yes. Yes. Our
Oh, okay.
preservationist is going to be reviewing this.
Oh, so maybe we can get that date. No, but that's
Yes.
good. The reason I'm asking is
Mhm.
I like the lighting on a building, of course, depending on how bright it is and whether or
Mhm.
not you can turn it off, a lot of issues. But I'm
Mhm.
concerned that the ones that you're mounting on the sill will get a reflection back from the window. Won't they?
The small ones mounted on the windowsill.
Yeah, won't they be reflected back in the glass?
Well, we're the mounting portion is most of the fixture is in front of the window panel, which is the solid portion. So we think that you're not going to be able to see the fixture reflected from the window.
Okay, but this can all be clarified with the mock-up?
Correct, yes.
All right, one last thing. You're not doing anything to the front door?
No,
No,
that's
okay.
remaining.
So what I would offer is I don't feel I have enough information to vote on this and would like very much to see the mock-up. So depending on the timing, like when the mock-up will be up and when you're due to go to Landmark, I would like to see this. I don't want to make a formal move to table, but some version of that pending our viewing of the mock-up. But I wouldn't approve it on the basis of all of the signage, but certainly I want to see how the lighting affects it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail? Gail, confirm unmuting.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. I have no issue with the Bucciolati sign being enlarged. I think it'll be fine. I am concerned, however, having Bucciolati on the second and third floor awnings. I think it does come across a little bit as overkill because I like the navy awnings. I think they're quite elegant, but if the sign is enlarged and you've got excellent lighting, it doesn't appear to me as if you really need to keep reinforcing that it is a Bucciolati store. I think people can clearly see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth?
Yes, I think that the most of this is perfectly acceptable, but I do agree that the signage on the second and third floor awnings is too much, 6 too much. And I don't feel it's all that necessary because no giants are going to be going along needing to see them on the second and the third floor. So I don't think we're doing anything destructive to their marketing. And I think I would approve it so long as they took that signage off.
Thank you. Anthony?
Hi, thank you, Saida. I think I'm less sensitive than most to signs on awnings, but I don't have any problem with that. I think that I think I can support this. If it were a less fully commercial neighborhood, I think I would be more wary of the night lighting, frankly. But it's Madison Avenue. It's and so I think it certainly is part of what the aesthetic of Madison Avenue has been for many years. So I think it's completely appropriate.
Thank you, Jane.
I want to echo what Anthony just said. I have no problem at all with the signage on the awnings. Everything that Bucciolati does is in the highest taste. Even the font for the letters in the signage is so beautiful. And I think that with the navy blue, it's very discreet. And as Anthony said, it's the aesthetic of Madison Avenue. And I'm so grateful to Bucciolati for coming up with a very sensitive, tasteful solution to try to perhaps attract more customers. And I might add that if one is riding a bus up and down Madison Avenue, you do have a great vantage point into second floor windows. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with having the signage, especially at the second floor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for.
I don't think you got David Halpern's comments, Saida.
Yes.
I got my comments. My comments are pretty consistent with Anthony. And you, John.
Oh, that's right. You commented in the middle. I'm so used to you commenting at the end. So I think we're ready for a vote on this.
We need a resolution. Or a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Is there a second? I'll second, but I don't know if the chair can.
You can.
Thank you. I'm seconding.
Okay, so one moment while I unmute everyone. Elizabeth?
Pass.
Gail?
No.
Michelle?
No.
Alita?
No.
Sarah?
I'll pass.
Anthony?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Marco?
No.
Okay, the motion fails. 3 yes,
No, we
4.
pass it.
Oh, we go back to them. Okay, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
No.
I pass. No.
I
And
think it was Sarah.
Sarah, yeah.
Fail.
Sarah? Oh, you're muted again.
He failed.
No, thank
Okay.
you.
So the motion fails.
Could I make a substitute resolution and actually ask, and I don't know if this is okay, if we could divide it into 2 parts, one for the awning and one for the rest of the proposal?
Why don't we divide it into the signage on the awnings? and the
Right.
rest of the
Signage,
proposal?
yes.
That's exactly what I mean, David. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a
Also,
second? Okay.
Wait a second. David, did you want to add another comment?
Yeah,
to
I
that?
just wanted to, I know Michelle's concern about the lighting. I just want to point out to her that the kind of lighting they're doing has been very standard for many, many years. And that it can be a warm lighting, and that if they do a mock-up and Landmarks approves it, I believe that I would have approved it. So it may not make any difference to her, but I do want to give some comfort zone to the fact that the lighting should not be a real issue for us, because it's very standard what they're doing.
Thank you for those comments, David.
Welcome.
Okay.
Saida, it just makes more work for me, but go ahead. Take a vote on everything but the awnings.
Okay.
Everything but the signage on the awning.
Everything but
The
signage.
sign, excuse me. Thank you, David. The signage. I just think it's so elegant that I'm given the garish signage all over Madison, but in any
Now,
case.
Jane, we know that 15% of the time we get overruled by landmarks, so we'll see.
Okay.
Or even by the full board. Okay, Saida, the first is going to be the application with excluding the signage on the awning. So that would include the lighting on the front elevation and the Bucciolati signage that will be backlit on the marquee, on both sides of the marquee and facing Madison Avenue.
Okay.
To approve it.
Yeah, this is an approval.
Okay. All right. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay. Gail?
Yes.
Michelle?
No.
Alita?
Yes.
Sarah? Sarah.
Yes.
Okay. Anthony?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Marco?
Yes.
Okay.
So
We
now
have-
we're going to go to a resolution disapproving the awnings.
Lettering on the awning.
I'm sorry,
Right.
I can't, the lettering on the awnings.
Right. Just approving lettering. Okay. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Anthony?
No.
Okay. David?
No.
Jane?
No.
And Marco?
Yes.
Okay. 6 in favor and 3 opposed.
Thank you, Saida. Okay, we now can move to the final application. Anthony will take,
Yes.
and that's 140 East 74th Street.
Right, which is in the Upper East Side Historic District and are the architects for Shea Fifi here?
Okay, if you are here, can
Okay.
you raise your, oh,
She physically raised her hand, I think, Susanna Chan. Now, of course, we have to find her.
okay, okay.
Got her? Yeah. You are unmuted.
Yeah.
Good evening,
And Mary Dirks also looks like she is frantically waving.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, and sorry, I could not find raise hand. Good evening. Thank you for hearing our presentation, especially at this late hour. Susanna Chan is in and with me from O'Neill Langen Architects. I'm going to share screen, which is can you see that?
We can see it.
All right, I'm going to full. All right. This is Shea Fifi. Here it is in the historic district. This application is to alter the front entrance, the front extension, which is here. And that will be replace cladding and trim, replace windows and door, widen door opening and window opening on the west side, close one window on the east side, and replace the sidewalk canopy in the same location. I'll go into more details quickly later. 140 East 74th is an altered Italianate style row house designed by John Prague and built in 1871 to 75. The front extension was added a little bit after 1940. The building is just off Lexington. Here it is. That was 1980 and today. These are the views. That's the front, the west side where the window's being a little bit enlarged, the east side. And here's a photo showing you that right at the moment, it's in pretty bad condition. Here's what it looked like in 1940 and at designation. This is an existing and proposed rendering. The front windows are going to be replaced and the door has to be widened for code a little bit. The wood facade finish is going to be replaced in wood. The new wood trim is going to relate more to the main building than the existing does. The west side windows, which are here, are going to be expanded a little bit and joined. This is going to present a lighter appearance of the extension. And the canopy is going to be in the same location, but it's going to be replaced. It's not in very great condition and will be a little bit slimmer on top. Here it is at night. We are proposing, as far as the windows go, they will be clear glass, but they're going to have a removable interior film that is going to be in a textured pattern. Here's the elevation showing all of the changes that we talked about. This is the west elevation that shows the one facing Lexington, and that shows the changes to the windows. This is the east elevation by the stoop, which shows that one window is going to be closed off and the other window is going to have a new sash. This is the plan. The footprint stays the same. Here are details which we can go back to if we have questions. Here's the rendering. I'm going to just zip over to some examples. The 1-2-story commercial extension is pretty common on the in the Upper East Side in the historic district. Mostly these are on Madison Avenue, but every once in a while they also kind of spill over into the side streets. This one on the left, 138 East 74th, is actually next door to our one-story addition. And here are just more of the extensions on Madison Avenue. So I'm going back to the rendering, and that is our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. First, do we have members of the public?
I don't see any raised hands from the
I don't
public.
either. Okay. So we can go to the committee.
Okay.
And I guess reverse order?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Marco, confirm unmuting.
I think the proposal will clearly use the same footprint, make the enlargement. I think I like the idea of the new canopy, but the windows, that looks more like commercial on a street. The other one is more within the context of side street. I think this picture is clarifying very nicely.
Yeah.
And I think it changed the character completely with the windows. I mean, the other ones maintain the context of the entire building. The other one is completely out of the context of the design. And that will be my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco.
Jane? Are we skipping? Okay, David?
I think it's a big improvement. I would agree with Mary that feels much more comfortable with the trim on the building. I would hope that when they do the new extension, that everything gets painted and everything sort of works together. Yes, okay, that's
Yes.
important. That's important to know.
That dark brown,
Excuse me?
the dark brown
Yeah,
color.
the dark brown, yes.
Mm.
I also think the windows work much better. This is a little box, which is an extension of the building. And to try to emulate the windows within the main building, I think would be a mistake. You would never be able to do it appropriately by having windows that are very different and contrasting. They feel a part of the extension, and the extension speaks as an element that in fact is added, but is added in an appropriate and sympathetic way to the rest of the building without having to try to emulate the building. So I also do like the slimmer canopy. So I think what's been done is very good, and I support it.
Sarah, you are next.
Hi, I agree with David. I think that the proposed design is a great improvement for the streetscape, and that the selection of colors in both refers back to the original building, but is but I'm glad that it doesn't mimic the building's current color scheme. I think that it does look separate, and so that may be what my colleagues may want to respond to, but I just think that the design is so much improved, and it may be better as a restaurant to have it look separate like that. So I would support this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Alita?
Thank you. So I was across the street, diagonally across on Lexington last week, and it looks so much worse than these photos show. It just does not work with the building. It doesn't even work with the, I find, hideous second floor, first floor of the building just to the west of it. I think that this new one is the new rendition is so much more appealing. It's New York styled. It looks really attractive. I have to say the name Chez Fifi also has some kind of endearing quality to it, a little bit New York. I could picture one of those French poodles as decor. Maybe if it were just, I don't know, it just feels much more suited to the side street, to the neighborhood. I just find it charming. And honestly, aside from how deteriorated the facade is, and those plants have undergone even worse, they're in worse shape because every other one is completely brown. And I know that they would remove it, but just it just doesn't suit anything. And this in itself is really, I think, very viable. And in comparison to what's there now, it's a gazillion times better. So I fully support this. Sorry for going on. I'm just excited.
Thank you. Michelle?
This is definitely a very big improvement. I just have some questions for clarification. Does the new proposal, when you say it's the same footprint, is it the same footprint as the existing extension or the existing extension plus the planters?
The existing extension.
Okay. The other question is, it looks like a cornice at the top. Is it a cornice? Because it looks like a thick cornice, but I may not be reading it right because it's flat. I just want to know what that is.
Right, it's now I'm going to zip over to the details. It's not very, actually, this is good. It's trim, kind of a semi-cornice, not big, not extending out very far. Not that different from the old one, but just a little bit more detail.
And are you doing anything to the front door?
It's changing. The front door is changing, and it needs to widen a little bit because it isn't up to code. But that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be a double
wood
door. Wood. Susanna, if you would weigh in. If she can be unmuted.
Thank you so much. Yes, the doors will be wood and glass as well, but you'll notice that the lights are divided a little bit differently to sort of emulate the verticality, which is definitely one of the ideas of the owner and design team. They really want to express the verticality. So if you could see in the drawing on the right, it would be a divided light situation, but we think it's also, while not mimicking the Italian details on the main building, it's the spirit of the verticality. So yes,
it's lighter and cleaner.
The mullions, sorry.
Could you say that one more time?
Sorry, no, I thought Mary said something. I didn't hear her.
I said, yeah, it's lighter than the old.
It's lighter.
Kind of cleaner.
Okay. And also the poles that are supporting the awning, are they brass? What are they? Are they brass color? Susanna's muted again, and I think she's trying to make a comment.
Unmute, Susanna.
I apologize. I didn't realize every time I muted myself, it was permanent. But I apologize. It is actually meant to be a darker metal. So instead of the brass, they wanted to sort of, well, everything is more like a tone on tone. So there's really not too much flashy hardware, for lack of a better term. I don't believe that our intention is to do any kind of shinier brass to call attention.
So it's like a dark brown, matching the wood, like the wood.
Yeah, I would say it would either be like a dark anodized or something, but the intent is exactly that, to match the dark brown of the
right,
wood.
like the wood. And what about the signage? Where does it say Chez Fifi?
Oh, okay. So on the rendering, that would be the nighttime rendering. I think you can see on the awning very delicately. Oh, I think we just passed it. So just zoom in a little bit. Yeah, so it's very.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I see it. It's white lettering.
It's very understated, and I think the owners will love that comment that someone had mentioned about the name, because it's named after their mother, actually.
Ah, well, that's nice. Is that a brown awning as well?
No, it's actually, it is like a bronze, but has a little more grayish. We're looking at materials still, so we didn't, that's one material that we haven't selected yet. So choosing from like a Sunbrella catalog, whatnot, where we'll try to find something closest to the brown, if you will, but it might be like a brown gray to give a little bit of, a little bit of difference.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gail?
I think you all did an excellent job. It's quite charming, and I can support the application. Thank you.
Elizabeth?
Yes, I can support it too. I think it goes well with the building and looks welcoming, as people say. So I will support it.
Jane, I think.
Jane, okay. Thanks.
I think I already commented that I was going to support the application.
Okay, Anthony?
I think that this is fine. I support this application. I think that through a number of small, I mean, they're big changes, but a number of small changes has really made this a wonderful, elegant little box on the street. And I think it's actually really terrific the more you look at it. So I think we need a resolution. I see Michelle's hand up. This would be, I suppose,
Move to approve as, yeah, move
Right.
to approve as presented.
Okay, and we have Gail and Lita appear to have seconded. Yep, nodding. All right. So I think we can go to a vote.
Okay. 1 second while we unmute everyone for the last vote. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Sarah? Sarah?
Yes.
Thank you. Anthony?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Marco?
Yes.
Okay, you have a unanimous approval.
Thank you.
Oh, Alita, your hand is still raised. Did you?
Yeah, no, I wanted to raise an item of new business if it's acceptable to the chairs.
Yes, hopefully not too long. We've been here.
It's not for tonight. It's for the future.
Okay.
I think there's a movement afoot to attack the Upper East Side's historic districts as being an obstacle to additional affordable housing, because I've heard that from a number of people. There are plans to change the Euler process, which have been endorsed by the Brooklyn Borough President, for instance. And I think we should take it up at some point about how to be a bit proactive in this, because the historic districts are vital to the Upper East Side, and people visit here from elsewhere in the city and from outside of the city because of those historic districts. They have nothing to do with affordable housing, and I think it's an important issue, but that's just me, maybe.
No, thank you, Alita. I think there must be some, you'd have to bring a lawsuit, wouldn't you, to dissolve a historic district? But you're right, it's for another meeting. It sounds like a huge issue, but I've never, ever heard a hint of it. Have you, David?
I haven't heard a hint of it. The other side of the coin is that I think we need to be sensitive to Alita's warning, because if the mayor wants it, my experience with the city council is they pretty much do what the mayor wants. And I've been on the wrong end of that a couple of times. So I think we need to take into consideration the possibility that the mayor may want to do some rethinking of historic districts. So I think it is something we should think
Before
about.
we leave, and it's true, I don't want to extend the meeting myself. The boundaries of the districts are, it's simply a vote by the commissioners. Am I correct?
Right now it is, but we don't know, somebody may come up with legislation that
No,
says.
I understand that, but I'm just thinking that there might be the legal aspect of, that's what I'm thinking of, the boundary.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy to do, but we've had zoning broken, and we've had differences about what happens from a landmarks point of view, in
Right.
terms of protecting the district. So if we have a mayor who thinks that we should have 10,000 units of affordable housing in the Upper East Side Historic District, we have to be able to say that's, we want to have it in the Upper East Side, but we don't believe it belongs in the historic district. But I think it could wind up being an issue.
That's interesting. I mean, Alita, was this just how did it come to your attention?
It's come to my attention over the course of years, last maybe 2 years, of people talking about historic districts, about the Upper East Side in particular. And I was talking with someone who's young, who has nothing to do with land use or landmarks or even city government, who said to me that he and his friends, what he said was basically the Upper East Side has more historic districts than any place else, and we don't have any affordable housing. And that is, for me, an attack on the idea of historic districts on the Upper East Side. Then recently, in the last week, there's been a report about changing the ULURP process because, as the mayor said, he wants it to be a city of yes. And there was an article in yesterday's Commercial Observer about, again, from the Brooklyn Borough president, supporting the idea of changing ULURP to make it much easier to bypass everything, including environmental restrictions and interests. So I'm just really concerned that there is, and we know how people respond to the Upper East Side from the way they looked at the Blood Center and how that issue became transformed into an issue that had nothing to do really with land use. So my concern is just that we need to be proactive and at least come up with something about why the historic districts matter and how else they could deal with affordable housing. We seem to be punished because the developers are building 30, 40, 50-story buildings without affordable housing. So the only way they could squeeze it in is to either deal with the R8B on the side streets or the idea of historic districts. And I just think it's really important. It's come up several times over the last couple of years in either, I don't remember where, either in newspaper articles or email from organizations or something, but it's an issue that seems to be out there, maybe not at the top, but given their approach towards ULURP right now, which is to change it, it's not even community centered now. I think a lot of people feel that ULURP is broken because it is so heavily slanted in favor of the developer, but what they want to do is make it even more so. And that
last question, and then we can definitely put it on an agenda, and I'd love for somebody to do some more research into this. Daniel Gorodnik, who's now the head of the City Planning Commission, when he was the city council person, he was very much in favor of historic preservation. We went to meet with him on a number of issues. I mean, does anybody know, has he changed his tune on that, or? No one knows. Okay.
And I went to a seminar with him. This issue didn't really come up in a major way, but nothing was brought up about affecting the historic districts. But it may be that as the chairs of the Landmarks Committee, maybe we should request a meeting, even if it's a Zoom meeting with Dan. Because as you say, he's been very supportive.
Yeah, no, he has been. That's why I was curious. But no, that's a good idea. I don't know, Alita, maybe you could do a little more research on this and see if there's a little more concrete
It would be good to
evidence.
see if it's in writing anyplace.
Yeah.
The ULURP is the part about the historic districts. I'll try and see if I could find anything else, but the Upper East Side has a reputation among city council members that is very elitist, and they lump everything together. Anyway, that's my feeling, but I know historic districts and the idea of it.
We had a very non-elitist city councilman who was protective of the historic districts. So, you can be both.
Yes, you can, but if the mayor, we know what happened with city planning and the Blood Center, and Mayor de Blasio's tweet before it even became a ULURP that he was changed, that the zoning would be changed. And so city planning does, as you pointed out, what the administration wants.
Maybe before we even go to Dan, we want to go to our city council person to see our
That's
position.
a very good idea. That's an excellent idea.
Yes.
Well, let's see how long the agenda is for October. And maybe we can continue to discuss this a bit. And Alita, if you could do a little research and see if there's anything in print. Maybe.
Julie Menon has certainly come out to be very much in support of Community Board 8. So
yeah,
I haven't heard specifically about historic districts, but should certainly be worth bringing up the issue, but not without some more information.
Well,
Yes.
I guess
What,
I'm sorry that I'm not with you in person, so all of you couldn't see my Bucciolati earrings, but I'm sure that puts me in totally into the elitist camp, as it were. No pun intended, Alita.
I get
In any case, is there a move to adjourn?
I think Michelle had her hand raised. So before you do that, Michelle, did you have something else?
Yes, I did. I wanted to say, I wonder if Alita still has that article, which I read, if she could, if it was okay with Saida to forward it to Saida for her to send it to everybody on this meeting, because it had a lot of information in it. Is that a problem to do that?
If Alita sends it to me,
That
I
would
think
be
it's
great.
fine.
Yeah, I'll
Alita.
figure out. I've sent around. I'm sorry if I missed you, Jane and David, but I was thinking zoning. Michelle, I'll talk to you about which one, and I'm happy to do that. And thank you so much, Saida and Jane and David, for being receptive to this. Or
And the other,
Anthony
oh,
too.
I'm sorry. The other thing I wanted to say is when we talk about the ULARP, maybe some of our meetings should be joined with zoning. And if not, that part of this should certainly be in the zoning committee. So however,
I'm
Anthony is
really
here to
loath
talk
to go
about
down
that.
the dark path of joint meetings with zoning, because our meetings usually are so defined by the applications that come to
Right.
us.
But yeah, but this would be a subject outside of an applicant, so we understand that. Anyway, I'll move to adjourn if you.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
thank you, Michelle.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night,
Right.
everyone.